Hi and welcome. My name is Tolan and I'm the co-founder of Productivity Meet. In this video, we're going to look at the idea of basic mathematical formulas. We'll look at some totals and averages and the different ways that you can use numbers, inputs, and formulas within Microsoft Excel so that you can start to create a more functional worksheet. With that, let's get started. If you want to follow along, go ahead and open up exercise file 04.01. As we've mentioned before in this course, you can find the exercise file or a link to the exercise file in the description of this video. By clicking that link, you'll be brought to a Google Drive and you can download the file directly. Okay, so this is going to be a review for many of us, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page, when you have information in Excel, there's kind of three common formats. The first is text. So if you were to type the word text, it's often going to be left aligned, meaning that it's flush with the left part of the cell. If we put a number in here, like the number 3, that would be right aligned. And if we were to input a formula, the way that we would input a formula is, say, 3 or maybe 2 plus 2, that formula and the corresponding result would be right aligned. So text is left aligned, numbers right aligned, formulas and the resulting number are right aligned. Now, if you want to enter in a formula in Microsoft Excel, there are 4 pieces that you need, or at least 4 pieces. The first is an equal sign. By inputting an equal sign into Microsoft Excel, you indicate to the program, to the application of Microsoft Excel, that you're going to give it a formula. The second is that you need a number or a cell reference. So you could say, you could either do the number 3, well, we could go like this. We could say equals 3, or equals another cell. So that would be what's called a cell reference. And currently this cell has 0 in it, so the value of this cell is 0. We then need a number, essentially an order of operation or a function. So we'd say 3 plus or 3 minus, and then we'd have to put in another number like this. So that's going to be the second part. So let's say that we need an equal sign, we need a number. Let's say that we're going to do some addition, and then we need a second number. So let's say 3, so 3 plus 3. So if we were to put this all together, it would say we take this first part, equals, and then we take this second part, 3, we'd add 3 to it, and then we're going to get the corresponding result of the number 6. Now, if you want to show your results, or essentially see which cells have formulas and which cells just have specific values, the way that you can do that is twofold. The first would be to go to Data, or I guess it would be under Formulas. You would go to Show Formulas here, and you'll notice that in the description, after it says Show Formulas, it's parentheses Control plus what's called the grave, accent grave, or you may also see it on your keyboard here as tilde. The tilde or accent grave key is going to often be to the left of the number 1 on your keyboard. So if you were to press Control 1 or Control tilde, it will show the formula here in this cell, that of 3 plus 3. And if we press Control tilde or Control grave again, it would show the result. We get the same kind of operation or the same functionality if we were to click this button. Again, we would do this by going to the Formulas tab, coming to the Formula Auditing group, and then clicking this. Or you can use the keyboard shortcut, either Control Grav or Control tilde, as many people will say. Okay, so there are different types of mathematical operations. The first is addition, right? So we have addition, and this would be something like, put in our equal sign, we'll say 3 plus 3. 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. We also have things like subtraction. So if we were to say equals 3 minus 3, that should be equal to 0. We have things like multiplication, and multiplication in Microsoft Excel is indicated by an asterisk. The asterisk is often achieved by pressing the Shift key and the number 8 on a QWERTY keyboard. So we would go equals 3 times 3. So that would be that. 3 times 3 is 9, right? So we can also have division. So division is indicated by the /. So if we were to say equals 3 divided by 3, that should be equal to 1. And then the last is the use of an exponent, or essentially an order of magnitude. I guess it would actually be a power. So that you would achieve by pressing the shift key and the number 6 on your keyboard. So let's say that this is equal to 3 to the third power, which I think would be 27, right? 3 times 3 times 3, 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27. So you have these 5 different regular operations that we'll talk about throughout the course. And you can also have things, the difference between a hard-coded value or a cell reference. So let's just say that this is going to be, if you had a hard-coded value, so you could say this is equal to 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, right? So that would be 20. Or you could say, let's have 4 cells here. So let's say each of these cells are 5. And then we could basically say we'd like to take the value of this cell plus the value of this cell plus the value of this cell plus the value of this cell. And then if we wanted to, we could change any of these individual values. So even if this was, say, 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, this specific cell here, as we'll see when we place the formula, is that currently they're the same, right? So this is 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, which is the same values that are here in this cell. However, this is saying the value of H42 plus H43 plus H44 plus H45. So the advantage of the second method is that, let's say that we were to change all of these to 6. If we change these to 6, you'll notice that our formula here hasn't updated because it was hard-coded. Essentially, we manually put in the values rather than the cell references. Whereas here, we are still referring to these cells, and the cells now have the values of 6. So whereas before it was 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, which is equal to 20, now when we do that same operation, it's 24. So what if this was 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7? Again, this formula is static because it was hard-coded, because we manually input the original values of 5, so that even if these values change, this formula won't change. However, if we were to say 7 plus 7 plus 7, you'll notice each time that we input a new value, this value automatically updates. So that's kind of one of the advantages of using cell references in a formula, is that when any of the individual values of your formula change, then you have the ability to automatically update your formula. So the next thing, that's what we might call the sum. We could add up these individual values. As we'll talk about in a later video, we could also take the average. And there are specific functions within Microsoft Excel to do all of this, right? But here we'd have to go to 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, and that can be kind of problematic. If we want to take the average, well, the average would basically be equal to this cell divided by 4, which is 7, and if we want to take the average of this, it would be kind of the same thing, right? So this divided by 4. However, if we were to change 2 of these to 8, then the value would be 7.5, and this, again, doesn't automatically update because it's hard-coded. So we'd have to go in here, and we'd have to say 8 plus 8, and then the average would be the same. So kind of this video, we covered what might be thought of as a lot of information, but the key components to remember here was that there are 3 common types of information that we'll put into Excel. First is text, which is left justified. The second is numbers, which is often right justified. And the third is formulas, which is essentially will give us a number. Therefore, it's right justified. Now, if you wanted to construct a formula in Microsoft Excel, the way that you would do that would be you'd first use an equal sign, then you'd have a number or cell reference, then you would have a order or function, and then a second number or cell reference. So when you put it together, it would look something like this. It'd be equals 3 plus 3, and that would give you the result of 6. If you decide that you want to display which individual cells have formulas, you can go up here to the Excel ribbon, go to the Formulas tab. Again, you would go to Formula Auditing, Show Formulas, and then see this cell here has a formula. It's 3 plus 3. If we were to scroll down, these cells here have formulas, which otherwise they have hard-coded values. And then if we were to do that for the same thing, these cells right here, this cell, and this cell, as well as this cell, all have formulas. So we talked about the idea of, maybe we'll zoom in, of formulas. Then we looked at the 5 most common mathematical operations, that of addition, 3 plus 3, that of subtraction, 3 minus 3, that of 3 times 3, or multiplication. We looked at division, 3 divided by 3, and then the use of exponents, 3 to the 3rd power, which is 27. Lastly, we looked at the idea of hard-coded values. So that would essentially be in a formula like this, where we have values that are put in manually, and each time we want to update those, we would have to go in and update this specific formula. However, if we were to use something like cell references, which we did in this case, then our formula here refers to these specific cells, and thus when we update the cell to something like 12, this cell will automatically change, and any corresponding cells relating to this cell would change. So this cell relates to this cell relates to these 4 cells, so therefore when we change any of these cells, these other cells will also automatically update. In our next video, we're going to look at replacing formulas with a nearby cell. So essentially we'll do a little bit of copying and pasting or dragging and dropping with a fill handle, and we'll see how we can use cell references and formulas in adjacent cells to easily populate our data within a given Excel worksheet. So if you're interested in that, join us in the next video. As always, thanks for watching. If you have questions, comments, ideas, criticisms, go ahead and post those in the comments section of this video. You can tell us what you think about this video by giving us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Either way, we'd love to get your opinion. And lastly, you can feel free to subscribe to our channel, where every week we'll post additional tips, tricks, and keyboard shortcuts around Microsoft Excel with the idea of helping you become a more proficient, more excellent Microsoft Excel user. All right, with that, we're out. We will see you again soon. And as always, thanks for watching.